Okay, there we go. All right, so hyperbola is going to be two parabolas facing away from each other. The center is going to be that point right here in the middle of the two parabolas. Then you have the distance between the two vertices of each of the parabolas is the A value. And then the distance between the A's is your transverse axis. Each parabola will open towards the vertice. And I wonder if I can draw an asymptote on here. These are going to have asymptotes that are going to be some y equals mx plus b lines that are going to follow like so. Okay, so the equation, and this is for center at the origin, is exactly like the ellipse. What's the difference that you guys notice? Almost the same, except the sign in the middle. Okay, so the ellipse is the plus sign in the middle. Hyperbola has the minus sign in the middle. Okay, the vertices will be plus or minus A. Okay, foci plus or minus C. The equation here, exactly the opposite of the ellipse. So in the ellipse equation, you have c squared equals a squared minus b squared. Now it's the opposite. So you're switching both of those things on the equations. Now the b value is going to give you the asymptotes. Okay, in a hyperbola with x squared first, you're going to have asymptotes of b over ax. Okay, and then with x squared first, remember x squared is up and down. Okay, and then y squared is going to be left and right. Okay, now let me double check that because now I'm questioning myself. I forgot to bring my notebook today. Okay, so when x squared comes first, you are doing left and right. Okay, so x squared first. Your hyperbola will look like this. And then y squared first, your parabola or your hyperbolas will be up and down. Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and work on some problems. And then this is just how we get these asymptotes here. Okay, so here's our first problem. So you have x squared over 49 minus y squared over 25 equals 1. So here, because we don't have the h and the k, and this is what we started with, our center is going to be right here at 0, 0. Okay. Then we are going to note that x squared comes first. Okay, so that means we're in this formula here, x squared over a squared minus y squared over b squared equals 1. Okay, and then we know that it's going to look somewhat like this. Okay, so let's identify our a and our b. So if a squared is 49, then our a is going to be 7. And if b squared is 25, then our b is going to be 5. Okay, and then let's also get our c value. We'll start plotting this here. Okay, so c squared is going to be a squared plus b squared. So a squared is 49 plus 25 gives you what? 64. Yeah, so c squared is 64, which means c is going to be 8. Okay, so we have our a's, our vertices, so this is going to be plus and minus 7. So you've got a negative 7, 4, 5, 6, 7, about right here. And then positive 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 right here. And then you have 8 is your foci. So you're going to open towards 8 on either side. So make a point for a foci. You can go ahead and write these vertices down, negative 7, 0, and positive 7, 0. Okay, then to actually draw what it looks like, you're going to want the asymptotes. So for the x squared asymptote, it is y equals plus or minus b over a x. Okay, so if we go back, let's check on the x squared formula. Yeah, b over ax for the x squared, so it's just opposite of what's underneath the x. Question. 49 plus 25 is 74? Oh, okay. Well, that's just very simple that I can fix here because I was trying to do that in my head. I'm not very good at doing these in my head. So what is the square root of 74? 8.6 roughly? Okay, so 74. And then that'll give us 8.6. Okay, so then we'll just go ahead and make these a little bit further out. There are markings there. Okay, so the 7, oh, we lost that. So there's 7, so then there's 8, so 8.6 probably about right there. And then 8.6 about right there. Okay, so b over ax, so b is going to be 5. And then a is going to be 7. So this is the y equals mx plus b line, 5 over 7x. So you start at 0, you go up 5 over 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 7. So you have a point right there. And then go down, we'll be able to draw that line. So down 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. To the left, 7. And there's one line. And then you're just going to go the opposite. So up 5 to the left, 7. And then down 5 to the right, 7. And then do your best to draw the lines here. So that's not good. Try and fix it if it will let me. There we go. And then the other line. Let's see here. There we go. Okay, so those are the asymptotes. So then if I am drawing this hyperbola, we're just going to skirt along these. It's not going to curve quite yet. Roughly looking like this. Very, very roughly, because I have a hard time drawing on this. Okay, but that is our hyperbola, and we've answered. We have the foci, the point for the foci. You have your asymptote. You have your A and your B. The only other question would just be, what is the length of the transverse axis? So that would just be the length from negative 7 to positive 7. So that would be 14 if we were asked that. Okay, let's take a look at another one. Now, this one introduces where we have our different center, okay, because it's not plus 0. So just to go back up to our formulas here, if the center is not at the origin, you're just going to have this. So you would have x minus h squared over a squared minus y minus k squared over b squared equals 1. Okay, asymptote equation is the same. And then here, y minus k squared over a squared, and then x minus h squared over b squared equals 1. So we're just adding that h and k in there. K is going to go with the y, and the h is going to go with the x always. Okay, so going back down to this problem, okay, you have a y squared first. So we'll note that we've got y squared first. Okay, which means that this is in the form y minus k squared over a squared minus x minus h squared over b squared equals 1. Okay, so let's identify these pieces here. So we have a k with the y value. So that k is 2. So we're going to have a center All right, so our k, it turned into a plus sign. So y minus -2. And then our h also turned into a plus sign. So x minus -3. So -3, -2 is going to be our center. Okay, so let's see, -3, -2, about right here. And then we know that y squared is going to follow this. So we're opening up and down here. All right, so then we have a. So we have a squared is 9, and b squared is 4, which means our a value is 3, our b value is 2. So now we also know where the center of each of these is. Now it's 3, but it's not 3 from the origin now. Now you're counting from where the vertex is. Okay, because it's opening up and down, you're going to go with the 3. You're going to go up 3. You're going to have a point right here, and down 3. That's 2, 3. Okay, so that is going to give you points for your vertices. Of -3, +1, and -3, -5. Okay, then we have the equation for our asymptotes. Now this is going to be a over b x, but when it's x like this, it's actually x minus h. Okay, so that means this is going to be plus or minus 3 over 2, and then x plus 3. Okay, but basically, what you're going to do here is when you're counting the asymptotes, 3 over 2x, you're just counting from the vertex again. Okay, so here you're going to go up 3 over 2, so right here, and then you would go down 3 over 2 on both sides, then up 3 over 2 on both sides. Okay, so you're getting the lines for your asymptotes here. So here I would connect this, like roughly like that. Do our other one. And then we can draw our hyperbola. So we're going to be going up these asymptotes, like that's a bit crooked, but like so. And crooked again, but looking roughly like that. Didn't ask for the foci, but we could find the foci if we wanted to. So the foci is your c value. So that would be c squared is a squared plus b squared. So a squared would be 9, b squared would be 4. So that would be c squared equals 13. So c would just be the square root of 13. Okay, so square root of 13 is, let's see what that is actually. So 3.6. So I would go 3.6. So this is actually up 3. So 0.6 about right there and right there. So if I was doing the points of these though, I would do -3 and then -2 plus, well, actually, yeah, -2 plus square root of 13. So -3 and then -2 plus square root of 13, and then -3, -2 minus square root of 13.
Why did you use the EJ value instead of the A and B values for the asymptotes?
I did I? Okay, so I used 3 and 2 because that was A and B though. Because A squared is 9 and B squared is 4. So I have to take the square root of those first. It just happened to be the same values as the center. That's not a dumb question. That was a good question. Okay. All right, now we got one writing in standard form. So this is the same thing that we did for the ellipses. Very similar. Okay, the only thing is here, you just have the minus sign in the middle. So you're going to group them, which they're actually already grouped. So we'll split it right there. Okay, and then we can go ahead and we can take out a GCF here of 9. So this would be 9, and then x squared minus 2x, and then we're going to go plus blank. Now here, when you take the GCF out, you want to take out the minus on here, okay, because you want the minus sign to stay as a hyperbola. Okay, we wouldn't take out a plus 4 because then we would actually change the whole trajectory of the problem. So take out a -4, so -4, and then y squared, and then that would end up a plus 4y plus blank equals 43. Then we do the complete the square. So we're going to do b over 2. So we've got -2 over 2, which is -1 squared, so that's going to be 1. So I'm going to add 1 here. Then I'm also going to add 1 times 9 here. And then I have positive 4 over 2 squared, so that's 2 squared, so 4. Then I'm going to add 4 times -4 over here. All right, then I'm going to factor. So I've got 9, and then x squared minus 2x plus 1. That's going to factor to x minus 1 squared. Okay, then I've got y squared plus 4y plus 4. That's going to factor to y plus 2 squared. And then let's see, 43 plus 9 minus 16. I better not do that in my head. 36. All right, so then we will divide everything by setting it equal to 1. So divide it by 36. So 9 over 36 gives you 4. So you've got x minus 1 squared over 4 minus, this will be 1/9, so y plus 2 squared over 9 equals 1. Okay, so we have the equation, and if it asked what the center is, what would the center be? It would be what? One, -2. Those would be -2 and 3 would be the A and B. The center would be H and K here. So +1, -2 would be our center. Okay, and there's some practice. So let's practice some problems and then we'll go over them. Okay, so first one, you are just going to do c squared equals a squared plus b squared. So c is 5 and c squared is 25, and a would be 3 squared, so 9. So then we have 25 minus 9 is 16, which means the square root of 16 is 4. So b is going to be 4. Okay, so here we have find the equation for the hyperbola described, and then we've got some information. So we have the center. So you have a center at 0, 0. You have a focus at 8, 0. Okay, which means you have another focus at negative 8, 0. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that. 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we have a vertex at 1, 0. Okay, which means you have another vertex at negative 1, 0. Okay, so we have the first little bit of information here. We know that we're opening towards the focus, so we know we're going to start opening like this on either side. So that is a, which comes first? X squared comes first. So this is an x squared over a squared. Well, it's actually x minus h over a squared. Minus y minus k squared over b squared. Well, I don't yet. I'm just always going to use that one. Now, when I go to put the center in, it's 0. So then it just becomes x squared. But I'm just always going to start with that one. Just might as well get used to it. Okay, so you have x minus 0 for your h. So then that just becomes x squared. Over your a squared. So we know that a is 1. So that is this right here, this 1, 0. Okay, so a squared, 1 squared would just be 1. You have y minus 0 squared. We don't know what b squared is yet, so we have to find that. So we do know c, though. We know the focus is 8, 0. So focus is going to be the distance from the center. Distance from the center here is 8. So we'll go 8 squared equals 1 squared plus b squared. So 64 equals 1 plus b squared. So there you're going to get 63 for your b squared. So you put b squared underneath here. So this is 63 under here. B is the square root of 63. Okay, which actually simplifies, you can pull a 9 out of that. So 9 and 7. So this would be 3 root 7. If you had to, for some reason, write that in. I don't think you will. But yeah, you might if you're actually going to give the asymptote. Here you have to graph it, so you don't have to give the asymptote, but if you did, you would want to do that. So the asymptote here would be y equals plus or minus b over a x. Okay. So our b is 3 root 7. Over 1 x, which just means this. So when I do this, I'm just going to do 3 root 7 or square root of 63, which 7.9, so almost 8. Almost 8 here. So when I graph this, I'm going to go up 8 over 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 over 1. I lost it. There it is. And then down, well, actually, I'll just go the other way. Then I can draw them all. Start doing that. So let's see here. Roughly like so. Maybe up a little more. There we go. Close. There's drawing them. basically what I'm going to be having you do on the test is picking out the right ones because I don't like having to make you draw. But this is going to be really wide then when this is opening, right? So it's going to be like this. But if we really want to see what these look like without my terrible drawings, we can go on Desmo. So I did get this. Let me put this in here actually for you guys. So x squared is 1 minus y squared over, oops, 63. Okay, so here's a better rendering of the graph. Really, really wide though for it. And then see how I wrote the equation? I don't need the minus zeros as part of the final equation. So I would just do x squared over 1 and then minus y squared over 63. So the final one would be x squared over 1 minus y squared over 63 equals 1. Okay, next one. Find the center, the transverse axis, vertices, foci, and asymptotes, and graph. All right, lots of stuff here. So we want to set this equal to 1, so let's divide everything by 729. How many times does 9 go into 729? What is it, 81? So you're going to have x squared over 81 minus y squared over 729 equals 1. Center is what? Yeah, 0, 0. All right, so we get a center of 0, 0. Okay, we have A and B. Okay, x comes first, so this is going to be just like the last one. So A squared is 81, which means A is, and then B squared is 729, which makes B, thank you, 27. Oop, not B squared, just B. Okay, so we have A, B, we need the vertices. So vertices are going to be A. We know that in an x squared, we're opening left and right. So here we're going to go out 9. Now, this, I think that would be 3x, so it might work. Let's go ahead because this is so large here. I'm thinking about scaling this in 3s. Let's scale it in 3s. All right, so I would go out 9, so 3, 6, 9, so that'd be right here, and then 3, 6, 9, so right here, which means my vertices would be 9, 0, and negative 9, 0. Okay, foci, I've got to find the foci. So foci is going to be c squared equals a squared plus b squared. So let's see here. 81 plus 729 is going to give me 810, and that is not a perfect square, which is a bummer. So C is going to be, yeah, but we could take this and go 81 and 10, right? Yeah, so then that would be 9 root 10 for our C. Okay, which means that the foci are going to be, since the center is at 0, 0, the foci would be 9 root 10, 0, and then negative 9 root 10, 0, which is, what was it? 28.5. All right. So let's see, 3, 6, 9, 12, 14, 16, 18. Yeah, I did. Sorry. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 28, maybe right there. roughly right there, and then go this way here. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 28, something like that. Okay, so we've got our foci. Transverse axis, we do have to answer that. Transverse axis is going to be this right here, this distance. Okay, remember we're in threes, so it's 9 plus 9, 18. Okay, so transverse axis is 18. We got the foci, then we got to do the asymptotes. So the asymptotes are going to be y equals b over a x. So we're going to have 27 over 9. So that's just going to be 3. So our asymptote is 3x. So up 3 over 1 of those, it's going to be like right back. Or you could do 27. So 3, 6. I don't feel like counting all that. So let's actually look at what this looks like in a professional graph with drawing, instead of drawing it out. So we've got 81, 7, there we go, now we're scaled a bit. So there is our graph. Okay, so we started getting there a little bit, just a pain to draw. Any questions on that one? All right, then we got one more. Okay. All right, so the next one, we got a hyperbola, and now we're given information again. So you have foci at 3, 4, and 3, 8, and a vertex at 3, 7. Now it's not a 0, 0 vertex. So let's see these foci here. 3, 4, and 3, 8. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we had a vertex at 3, 7. Okay, so here's what this is telling me. This is telling me, okay, that I have a vertex here, which means I'm going to open like this, which means opening up and down, I've got y squared, or y minus k, squared over a squared, minus x minus h, squared over b squared, equals 1. Now, the center is going to be in between the foci, okay? So let's see here. Let's ignore this point right here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 in between the foci, which means 4 divided by 2 would be 2. So 1, 2, which means the center of this hyperbola is right here at this point, which is 3, 6. Okay, so that's going to be my h and my k. This vertex here is going to tell you your a value because the distance from the center to your vertice or your vertex-ish here is 1, or that's your a. So this is 1, which equals your a. Okay, so if that is the distance of 1, then you're going to have another vertice right here, and that's going to look like this. So we're opening towards both of these foci. Now the other thing we know is we know where the foci are. Question? Yes. So from the center to either of the vertices is your A. From the center to your foci is C. Is C. So from the center to the foci here is Q. Okay, so we have A and C. We need to find B, and then we can write the equation. So you have your H and K of 3, 6. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in. So what's my K is 6. My H is 3. Okay, and then let's see, C squared equals A squared plus B squared. So C is 2, so 2 squared is 4. A is 1, 1 squared is 1. So it looks like B squared is 3. Okay, so this would be y minus 6 over a squared, which would be 1. And then x minus 3 squared over b squared, 3. So there's my equation. Okay, then my asymptotes. So the way you're going to do these asymptotes, if you want the actual equation, here's the actual equation in this case when the center is not where it's not in the middle. So in this case, it's a over b. But really, when I do it, I just count from the center. That way, you're still where your line is, right? So in this case, I would just have a and b, so 1 over square root of 3, which I know is a no-no. But if we're just drawing the graph, it's okay. If I were actually writing this out, no, that would be 6, sorry. It would be y minus 6 equals plus or minus 1/3 x minus 3. And then you would have to work that whole thing out. Okay, but here this is just 1 plus or minus square root of 3, which is like 1 point something. So I think my drawing is actually pretty accurate. But let's take a look at this. I'm going to put it in there. All right, so we have y minus, it was 6, right? Oops. Okay. Y minus 6 squared over 1. And you don't really need to put the over 1. You can if you'd like. X minus 3 squared over, there it is. And there's our equation. Okay, but the biggest thing is you'll be asked, and the practice test that I'm going to give you guys looks very similar to the test. The test is just shorter. You'll be asked to pick the correct graph, so you don't have to actually draw the graphs by hand here, but you might be asked the asymptote or the equation is given bits of information here. So is that the last one? Any questions on that one?